Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. It is officially crunch time for the Florida Gators head coaching search. So we gonna get an answer one way or the other over the next 72 hours, and we have some intriguing news coming out Friday morning as Clark Lee signing an extension with Vanderbilt, staying put in Nashville. This is a big deal. And you certainly could put a positive spin on this if you're a Florida fan that wants Lane Kiffin to be the next head coach. The reason why here, and I had a Florida fan reach out to me and ask me what my thoughts were on this news. And look, we know two things for sure. Number one, there was some interest on Clark Lee's end about being the next head coach at Florida, or else he would not have interviewed with Florida last week. Number two, I think we all knew that Clark Lee had some serious momentum around his name in relation to the head coaching search. I don't think it's an unfair statement to say Clark Lee might have been the number two candidate behind Lane Kiffin. So what do I make of this news? What did I respond to the Florida fan? And my response was, I don't think Clark Lee signs this extension if he knew Florida's job was still on the table. Like, the positive spin you could put on this is, hey, maybe Florida knows who their next head coach is going to be. Could that name be Lane Kiffin? Now, that would be an irresponsible statement to make, but I do think there is some positive spin that you could put on this situation if you're a Florida fan sitting here Friday morning. To me, where I look at it, there are three names that I think are one of these three names will be the next head coach at Florida. I think it's either one, Lane Kiffin. Number two, there's some serious buzz around Jedd Fisch. And number three, Jon Sumrall, I think. Now, that's not to say there couldn't be some surprises. Like, I still think Lincoln Riley and that name is certainly lurking around there as well. We all know how crazy this could get, but I think those are the three names that seemingly would make the most sense. I want to dive into those three names. Before we get into it, as always, the Florida fans, let it fly in the comment section. I think this will be the last update we have until we get some news on who's going to be the next head coach. Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. It has been a blast talking about this coaching search. The amount of support the Florida fans have shown the boys has been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. One way or the other, we're going to have a lot to talk about regarding this program for the next couple of weeks and months, because again, it's not only about the next head coach. What's the coaching staff going to look like? What's the activity going to be in the portal as well? Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let's start with Lane Kiffin. Again, there is some positive spin that you could put on this if you're a Florida fan. As much as Clark Lee has been saying the right things about Vanderbilt, again, he would not have interviewed with Florida unless he wasn't a little bit interested. And the reporting that has come out, and guys at 24/7 Sports and On3 and at ESPN, they've been doing a really good job following this, was Clark Lee was a legitimate. I know the Florida fans weren't a huge fan of Clark Lee. Regardless of that, there was some serious buzz around Clark Lee's name. Could that mean Lane Kiffin could wind up at Florida? Certainly. Could Lane Kiffin stay at Ole Miss? Yeah, probably. Could Lane Kiffin go to LSU? No doubt, right? I still don't think we know. I don't even know if Lane Kiffin knows. The other two names are the names that we probably haven't talked as much about, because I've been very vocal. I think Lane Kiffin makes the most sense for Florida. He brings that swagger. He brings that roster building. Obviously, what he's done at Ole Miss. Let's talk a little bit more about Jedd Fisch. This was a name that got some buzz when the job opened up. There was some buzz around Jedd Fisch's name last year when Billy Napier was on the hot seat. Obviously went to Florida. There's some reasons that makes sense. Let's dive into the pros and cons. Now, one of the big pros in the way I push back in a lot of the anti-Jedd Fisch sentiment is, well, he's 31 and 32 as a head coach. Do we want to bring in a coach to Florida that has a losing record being the head guy? I understand that on the surface level. We need to add some context to that. I mean, he took over arguably the worst Power 4 program in the country at Arizona, lost some games the first 2 years. I mean, in 3 years, he had Arizona as one of the best teams out west. And what he did at Arizona was extremely impressive. So although the record at Arizona was not necessarily super impressive, what he did at Arizona, I certainly think was. He has proven to be a guy that can do wonders with quarterbacks. He has proven to be a guy that can be phenomenal as a play caller, the two things that really hindered Billy Napier's success at Florida. And then he goes to Washington. This is where I want to dive into it. I think everybody expected Washington to be the same team that it was under Kalen DeBoer. Even if Kalen DeBoer would have stayed at Washington, he would not have had that same success in 2024. Right? When he made that run to the national championship, he had Michael Penix, 3 NFL wide receivers, multiple NFL draft picks on the offensive line. None of those guys were there when Jedd Fisch took over, right? I mean, I don't think Kalen DeBoer would have won 10 games at Washington during the 2024 year, even if he had stayed. When Kalen DeBoer left, he took all the remaining good players with him to Alabama as well. When Jedd Fisch took over Washington, that was not the same team that made the national championship in 2023. I firmly believe that. And I thought Jedd Fisch did a pretty damn solid job his first year at Washington with not having a lot of time to get that roster right. Because if you remember, Kalen DeBoer left Washington pretty late in the process. After the national championship, that winter portal window was closed up at the time. Year 2 with Jedd Fisch at Washington, I thought I think is extremely impressive. And Jedd Fisch has an 8-3 football team, with their only 3 losses being to Ohio State, on the road at Michigan, and then a weird one on the road at Wisconsin and some weird weather up there in Madison, Wisconsin. They're only 6.5-point dogs at home against the Oregon Ducks. What Washington has been in year 2, I think there's a lot to like. Now, what are the things I like about Jedd Fisch? Number 1, quarterback, offensive play calling. Not many better. And again, to me, in this landscape of the sport, that matters. Like gone are the days where you have these 6th-year COVID senior quarterbacks. Gone are the days where there are certain rosters that it don't matter who's coaching it are going to win football games. The talent is more dispersed. You don't have these super veteran quarterbacks like we've had the last couple of years. Quarterback play, quarterback development, in-game coaching, the coaches that can give you the edge as play callers, that stuff matters a hell of a lot more than it mattered back in 2022 and in 2021. Jedd Fisch gives you the advantage. I think he's made some great hires on both sides of the football. He hired Steve Belichick year 1. Steve Belichick did a great job. Then Steve Belichick goes to his dad at UNC. He hires Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters has this as a top 25 scoring defense in the country. Quarterback development, offensive play calling, coaching hires. What he's done at Washington as a recruiter, 16th best class in the country. Kalen DeBoer never signed Kalen. Let me slow down. Kalen DeBoer during his time at Washington never signed a top 25 high school recruiting class. Jedd Fisch in year 2 is about to sign a top 16 class in the country. If Jedd Fisch comes and takes the Florida job, there's a very good chance he brings DeMond Williams with him, who would immediately, to me, be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC in 2026. I'm not saying Jedd Fisch is my favorite hire for Florida. I don't think it's as bad as many Florida fans think. I think in going back to how we started this conversation 2 months ago, Lane Kiffin's my number 1 choice. Like there ain't no question about it. With that being, he's not the only guy that can compete for national championships at Florida. I think Jedd Fisch, there's a lot of things to like regarding what Jedd Fisch can bring to Florida. Now, the other name is Jon Sumrall. And I get this is very, to a lot of Florida fans on the surface, it feels very Billy Napier-ish, right? And I don't even know if I'd push back on that. Here's the selling point on Jon Sumrall is, number 1, everything you hear from people in the industry, coaches, or I should say coaches who have coached for him, players who have played for him, people who have been around Jon Sumrall, but whether at Troy or Tulane, glowing remarks as a guy that runs a program. Just it doesn't really get much better, right? Does he feel like Billy Napier? Yeah, a little bit. I don't think that's unfair. Here's the key difference between Billy Napier and Jon Sumrall. Jon Sumrall's ego, he'll put it aside. Like I got family members who are diehard Florida fans, and I ate Thanksgiving dinner with them yesterday. And we were talking about, hey, what went wrong with the Billy Napier era? And we all recognized, look, that there was a lot of good things that went on with Florida. I will firmly believe that. Billy Napier's inability to give up play calling duties and bring in a guy that can get quarterbacks and offenses right was probably his kryptonite, was the reason why Florida did not have success under Billy Napier. Well, Jon Sumrall might be very similar to Billy Napier, but the difference is, hey, he's going to hire an offensive coordinator. He's not going to have the ego that says, hey, I'm the best play caller that this program can have. I mean, he has a great offensive coordinator at Tulane that I think's done a phenomenal job the last couple of years. That's the difference. I mean, look, you have Billy Napier, and you brought in an elite offensive coordinator that can develop quarterbacks. Florida might be a playoff team right now. Now, I don't think that's an unfair statement to make. So, although it feels a lot like Billy Napier, what I would highlight is there's a lot of realities where Billy Napier had success at Florida. He just had this kryptonite fatal flaw that he could not overcome. We'll see how it works out. And again, the last one's Lincoln Riley. I don't know what that's going to look like. That would really set the college football landscape on fire. We'll see how it plays out. Going to be a really chaotic but fun next couple of days and next couple of hours. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.